sorry about the link issue. Okay, guys, I'm super excited to announce Rachel. She is on, I've seen her on the Champions page, and she's in a few masterminds with Melissa and I, and she just had a call the other day that really spoke to me, and I reached out to her and was like, but everyone struggles with inviting, and not this woman. She's got this down. She's from Michigan. She is a toddler mom, but she's currently expecting. I don't know. Are we allowed to share that yet? I don't know how far along you are. Retired teacher, but some of her accolades are pretty impressive. She is a 7-star qualifying coach in her first business center and a 2-star in her second, which is huge, which makes her a 6-figure earner per year, and she is one of our current 2019 elite coaches. So without further ado, I'm going to let her go ahead and take over and share all of her good and amazing info on inviting.
Okay, cool. So thanks for having me, Katrina, and everybody. So I think inviting so I'm definitely one of those people that I have connotations of words, and inviting is not a fun word, right? Do we all agree? Inviting is when you were 5 and you're hoping you would get that birthday invite in your backpack, and maybe I'm just scarred from that. I don't know. But inviting has always been a weird word. So you kind of have to get over yourself and find the joy of inviting. So I'm going to share with you today some of my tips. I'm going to share my current routine, I guess, and I'm going to talk about inviting to the opportunity, because pretty much everybody skips that, and inviting to boot camps. So let's start with boot camps, because that seems to be easier. So one, you have to know what you're offering is a gift, right? I mean, you would never go to somebody's birthday party that you were not invited to, right? To be honest, anybody who reaches out to me, they are courageous, because I have not extended an invitation to them to come to my party. That's my fault. And they are invited. It's a universal invitation, but people need to know that they're invited. So one, you should make that clear, on your Instagram stories, in your posts and things like that, that it is a universal invitation. But knowing that what you have to offer is is a gift. It's not something I was just thinking about this today. I was driving. I was what if I was a rep for something I don't care about? I always use this example. I do not give a rat's ass about skincare. So I have no idea how Rodan and Fields reps do it. Because what do you say to someone? Do you need help with your skin? I don't know. It just seems weird. Whereas we're offering health. Everybody needs that in their life. No one's contracting an illness from their crappy skin. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that thinks this, but so what we have to offer is unique, and it's a gift. So you have to accept that and own that. And then the next thing is you need to identify, how would you want to be invited? So there's basically if I'm going to draw a line in the sand, there's 2 different types, I would say. One is the forming first, the getting to know someone, oh, how many dogs do you have? How cold was it today where you live? How old is your kids? Kind of house do you have? I'm doing that. I don't like that. So if someone did that to me, I'd be what do you want? Still, there are people that they want to ask me a question, maybe to speak on a team call, or they want to ask me a question about something I do in my business, and they start like that, and they're how's your day? How's Leo been? All this stuff. I'm who cares? I'm just get to you don't care. Just get to the point, So that's a turnoff for me. Even if it's genuine. It's just a turnoff for me. But for some people, that's really important to them. That's just a difference in personality. For me, I would want someone to come right out and say it I've had people do this. Like there's like an athletic MLM, like athletic wear, and the girl, like she just had like a good invite. She's like, hey, I have this athletic wear company. I love it. I'd love for you to like check it out and see if you like anything. Instead of her being like asking me all those questions. I just don't like that. Whereas I have a girl on my team that comes to mind. She would be the opposite. Like she would probably not even respond to that message that was just direct like that. She would want people to ask her about her dog and her daughter, and that's fine. Just you need to identify how you are. You don't need to appeal to everybody. You need to appeal to you, like your clones. Like, don't you want to just like recruit yourself? Yes, like I do. I want to recruit myself. So get clear on that. And then that's the type of invites that you're doing. So when people ask me if I form, I'm like, no. And sometimes I feel like a cold-hearted biatch, but I'm not, I just don't like it when it feels forced to me. But other people, and that's not to say I don't have genuine conversations with people, like through my stories and their posts and stuff like that. I'm not a cold-hearted person, but if I'm inviting them, I'm just personally inviting them. So figure out what is true for you. And this is for all types of invites. And that's how you're going to invite. Then the next thing is you need to just identify who you're going to invite, right? And everybody has the same opportunities, and I don't care if you have 4 followers or 4,000 or 40,000 followers on Instagram or Facebook. It doesn't matter. Everybody, like I had no Instagram. My Instagram actually got deleted when I started as a coach. Like I started straight up from the bottom. Like my 18,000 followers, like I earned every single one in the last 4 years. And that's because I've been actively growing my social media, and that should be part of your, like, that's how you get to the inviting part, is like you have to grow your social media. So that being said, I invite from my stories primarily because that's where I feel like people really know me, because I'm totally myself. Like I'm silly. I go on rants. I show my like dirty house, like whatever. So that's where I primarily invite from. So stories, and then also posts. And if you're out of those two, like maybe you're newer, you don't have as big of a following, then you can absolutely, you should be going into your people who follow you, because no one has a gun to their head saying that they have to follow you. Nobody does. So that is fair game. So that's kind of like step, I don't know what we're on, like step 2 or 3 here. Know what you have as a gift, identify what type of invite you want, and then find the people to invite. And then the most important thing, and I see my team do this, I see myself do this, like so many times we're like, okay, like I'm going to sit down and I'm going to invite. And you just like start doing it. Like most people can get into a rhythm of inviting. So I'll give you an example of my invite, but remember, I don't like the fluff. I'm pretty direct. Like I'm friendly, but direct. So like my invite today was like, happy Monday-ish Tuesday, because most people had yesterday off. Hope you're warmer than me today. This is all of my stories, so they know it's frigid in Michigan. I'm like, I don't know if you saw on my stories, but I have open enrollment in my virtual gym. Would you want a spot? If not, NBD. And so you have to craft your invite, and it's literally copy paste, guys. But so many times I think people get into, and I know I have done this, like where I'm like, I'm in inviting mode, and you feel like you sent all the invites. And if you were to look back and count, like in a time span, like you're probably, I mean, it's a task. So it can be taxing. And sometimes people look back, like they don't look back, but if they did, like how many did you really send? Like 4 or 40? I don't know. Sometimes it can feel like the same, it depends how hard you're looking for your invites. It depends how good you are at knowing who you want to invite. Like I'm pretty good at that. I can pretty much tell by their little itty bitty avatar picture if they're a Beachbody coach and / if I want to invite them. I can tell pretty quickly. So you have to, so I think a lot of people fall into the trap where they feel like they invited 40 and they really invited 4. So I don't struggle with this myself, but I know that my team does, struggles with consistency and knowing how, like, what they're actually producing. So I'm doing this too. And so I'm going to share my whole little like process with you. And I did not make this up. I got this straight up from Kate Morgan. This is her notebook method. And she has a great, it's somewhat long, but it's really good. Every second is worth it. YouTube video on her notebook method, inviting, but I'll give you a rundown. So basically she just takes a notebook and she cuts it, like makes 2 columns, and you just fill it with your invites per day. And this is like, if you're just trying to slay, you know, like, so she said, you know, like, and I totally agree with her that, you know, like, so she does this, and then if they respond, she circles their name. And she showed a page and like 1 or 2 names were circled. So that statistic is accurate. I agree. So on my notebook, it's a total of 64 invites for a page. And so it's like 2 responses, like saying like, well, what's it about? So they're not yeses, but if I'm doing 64 invites a day for the whole month, that's a lot of invites. I could calculate it out. And then over time, that's going to compound because, and like she was saying, like she did this video in August. She's like, so many of my Success Club points are from people I initiated in January. And just sending that message to. And she's like, who cares if they don't respond? If they see it and they continue to watch my stories, I invite them next month. And I think that's also, I do this as well. And I think that's a missing piece for a lot of people is they're afraid to re-invite. But you guys, if they're still engaging with you, aka watching your stories or liking your posts, they're a fan. Again, no one has a gun to their head. And sorry, it's kind of like a little explicit, but no one is forcing them to pay attention to you. So they're a fan. And you just have to know, like, you have to show them that, like, you're going to do this, you're going to be consistent, and whether or not they join you is, like, that's up to them. And you can, like, throw some humor in it and stuff, too. Like, Kate gives this example, and I've done this a lot in my stories, like, saying, like, girl, I still see you. Like, and you can do, like, that if you're funny like that, like, the eye emojis. Like, I see you watching. Like, when are you going to join me? And if you would never say that to somebody, like, then don't, because it will not be well received. But you just have to show that you're going to be consistent, and re-inviting is still inviting, and it's super important. I wouldn't invite someone like every day for the month, but like once they're on my list, they're going to be good for the month. But this makes it a lot more concrete that, like, hey, I did 64 invites today and I will every day, instead of like, yeah, I invited today. Like, 1, okay, is like, good job. But like, if you only sent 4 invites, the statistics like just aren't necessarily there for you to slay your goals and to make the income you want to make in this business if you're not willing to put in the work. And I promise you, like, I enjoy inviting. I know most people do not, but you have to find ways to make it fun. So for me today, I kind of like, it was too late, but I started to time myself. And so tomorrow I will like try to beat my score, kind of like Transformers. It's Transform 20. So that I'm like in a competition with myself. Like, honestly, nobody gives a shit if I beat my score. Like, there's no prize or anything, but I care. Like, it's like cool. Like, I can like pat myself on the back, you know? And it will just make me that much more efficient. And this is also teaching my girls to find like time management hacks, and it teaches them to get faster at identifying their avatar and crafting an invite. Like, once you craft an invite once, it's copy, paste, send. Copy, paste, send, write down their handle. Copy, paste, send, write down their handle. And that's it. And doing this today took me about 25 minutes. Like, it was not a lengthy process to send 64 invites. And I did have people respond. Like, Majority did not, and that's cool. They will join me later and they will stay in my funnel. But I think this is a super simple, tangible way to show that you're putting in the work. Because I know for me, like I'm way too much of a, like, I put too much faith in people, like because I'm super consistent. So I just like by default think everybody is, but I know that's not the case. So when people are like, I'm reaching out to everybody, now I can say, show me your list. And if you are newer and or you don't have a huge social media following, just do half of the page. So you're sending 32 invites. That's more than other people are doing. And if you do that every day, that's a really important part, is consistency. Over time, you will slay. You will slay. That's like my phrase, like this week is like slaying. But, and if you, again, are centered around the fact that we have a gift to offer and you're making Success Club your non-negotiable, you guys, I don't know anybody who's hit Success Club every month for a year and not grown a business that they're proud of. I don't know anybody. So like just hit Success Club every month for a year. And you will grow your income, grow your business. Facts, Melissa. Yes. So that's kind of like, I mean, it's like so basic. Whenever I present on stuff, I just feel like it's nothing earth shattering. It's like so simple, but everything I do in my business is so simple. So let's talk about inviting to the business opportunity, because again, it is missed. And this was my biggest shift. Like I was getting people from challengers that were getting like awesome results. But you're missing you're missing a whole bucket. Like there's 2 buckets to invite to. And one is the client opportunity with boot camps, and the other is the coach opportunity with the coaching opportunity. And you can pull into your coach bucket, you can take from your challenger bucket, but not everybody is going to come from there. So if you're only hitting Success Club 6, then you only have 3 people added into that bucket every month. It's not going to be enough to build to, I don't even care what your rank goal is. It's not going to be enough people, because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Like it's a business. So like, yes, we're dealing with people, but it's still a business. So we have to remember that is a numbers game. So it's not enough. So you have to be inviting to both buckets. So this was a huge turning point in my business. I was like, I don't know how. And you guys, there are 75 million trainings on recruiting. The basis is that, one, it's the same thing. Like you need to identify how would you have wanted to be approached about the opportunity or just approached in general, like one of the two, like fluff or direct. And 2, then you need to put the tips that you're learning from recruiting like into action. So I'm not going to go too much into this because it's basically like a whole separate training, but many people are just like frozen. They're not applying what they're learning. And that's, at the end of the day, is like your own fault. Okay. I like to give tough love, but it's always well received, but I have a hard time giving it. Okay. So you have to just, like, bottom line, nobody talks about coaching enough. Nobody talks about it on their stories enough. I could hella do more. And when I was at my prime of recruiting, I was talking about coaching a lot. And this is the top tip I got that changed everything in my business from another top coach in the network. I just reached out to her, Jamie Innes, and I was like, please help me. And she was like, Rachel, just talk about coaching. And I was like, that's it? She was like, do you talk about coaching? And I was like, no. She was like, then just talk about coaching. She's like I talk about when I go to the coffee shop. She talks about when she goes to the coffee shop every single time she goes, which is sometimes multiple times a week. Nobody's bored. People need to hear this. How many times have you like talked about something on your stories one time and then 3 weeks later, somebody's like, hey, remember that one outfit you wore? Where did you get it? But if you were to talk about it again, 7 people might have asked you where you got that shirt. So the more you're talking about it and having it in people's faces, the more they're going to remember certain things. So I took this a step further, and I talk about what we do as coaches. I talk about inviting, but don't use coach jargon. Like, don't use the word inviting. Like reaching out to people is like a little more layman's terms, like following up. I talk about that. I do that because it's pretty much the basis of my business. And sometimes, like when I'm feeling frustrated that pretty much everybody I've followed up with is ignoring me, then I like go on a rant about it on my Instagram stories. I'm like we'll get really close to my eye. I'm like, I see you, like, stop ignoring me. Like, where did you go? I'm like, girl, no worries. Like, I know you don't believe in yourself yet, but I am here to believe in you. Like, I just make it funny, but I'm showing them like what I do every day, you know? I talk about obviously our workouts and how that holds me accountable being a coach, and, you know, doing stuff with the team. Like, it's an easy thing to talk about, team calls. So easy to talk about. Super Saturday, like of any live event. Announcements from corporate. But the more you can talk about what we do as coaches, then when you invite somebody, this is like my go-to invite was, have you ever thought about doing what I do? And then one, they can take that into either bucket. They can see themselves as a challenger or as a coach, because then guess what question I don't get? They never ask me, well, what do you do? Never. And if they do, then that's a gut check for me to talk more about coaching again. Like step up my game. Or I'm like, you don't watch my stories, you know? But the more explicit I am, then it's a lot easier when I post like call to actions to get people into my sneak peeks. I call them info groups. I think that's less jargony, that people are like, what the hell is a sneak peek? But so I call them info sessions or backstage passes. And then people are just really wondering like the nitty gritty stuff, like how do we really make money? Like, how did I push myself outside my comfort zone? Like stuff like that, instead of, they know the basis. They know I'm present on social media. They know that I'm inviting. They know I'm following up. They know I'm checking in with my team page. They know I'm posting in my challenge group, like stuff like that. So then I can say to them, have you ever thought about doing what I do? Like, would you want to check out more info? Super chill. And it's super helpful to have something to invite to. So I have a info sesh every 2 weeks so that I can literally invite every day, because 2 weeks is not a long time. It ends up being, like even if I ends up being like a week and a half from the end of one to the start of the next. So then a week and a half is not a long time to wait for a sneak peek. I have a training on my YouTube, how I'm running my sneak peeks right now. It's working really well if you want to check that out. But that has really helped, that invite to the opportunity. Well, it's a vague invite, but a lot of people take it as the opportunity, because it's human nature. I think people underestimate this. It's human nature to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. It is. Like, so I have a girl I went to high school with. She's like a semi-famous YouTuber. Like, she has a humongous Instagram following. Like, her YouTube is very, like, that's what she does full time. She's my age. She's 26. And I have, you know, like watching her, human nature have like thought about doing what she does, like being a blogger or whatever. I have no interest in doing it, but it's human nature to think about it. Like, it's human nature to like picture yourself. Like, I picture her, I would picture her, like, I'm like, I wonder what her camera setup is like and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So people underestimate that. Don't underestimate it. Invite people, talk about what you're doing, both sides. That's like my routine. Those are my tips. I like doing questions if you guys want for a couple minutes. Because I was a teacher, and I think that's how people learn the best.
So we just switched over to doing bi-weekly sneak glimpse into coaching as well. I'd love to hear. I'm going to see how you're doing yours, see if there's anything we can tweak. But what's your what's your like recruiting numbers been?
So off my last sneak peek, I had, I think, 20 girls in there, and I recruited 7 of them. And they are working. Like, they are actually working. That's the biggest difference. Like, honestly, I don't really care about like the challenge pack commission, and they say they're going to work. No, like, these girls are actually working. Like, a couple of them already have Success Club point. This ended like days ago, by the way. They haven't even been a coach for a week yet. And they already have Success Club points on the board. They're asking questions in the team page. It's been amazing. It is a team call, so you can like skip the announcements at the beginning, but it's just about how I run it and my tips to make it super successful. And one of the girls, she posted in my team page, they're bringing new energy to the team, like hallelujah is necessary. And she said, I'm learning very quickly. Like, she's literally been a coach for 5 days, but she's like, I'm learning very quickly how rewarding it is to push myself outside my comfort zone and to get results. Like, she's like she already has a coach. Like, I mean, they're coming out of the gate ready to slay it.
I love that. That's awesome.
And that's been new for me. So this has been my third one I've run like that, with consistent recruiting numbers like that.
So guys, this is your time to ask questions.
Unmute yourself.
Katrina and I could sit here and ask questions all night.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So your list that you have where you do the circle. So I do a similar thing. If they say, they're interested, want some more information, you give them more information, and then they give you a hard no, do you carry them forward the next month, or you just bless and release?
So what I do is I want if they respond, they go into Google Streak is how I track. It doesn't really matter how you track, but that's how I know that they're going to be in a follow-up system. If they give me a straight up no, like no, thank you. I'm like, cool, because straight up no's are way harder to get than ghosting. So I'm like, cool. But then they go into like a not right now part of my pipeline. And those people I reinvite in 3 months. And Kate said this in her training. She was like, the only people I don't ever reinvite are people who block me. Isn't like true, like if they're still following you, like they're a fan, like, and we just have to know like what we have to offer can change people's lives. But, I just don't present it that way because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to fix them, and I don't want them to think I'm going to do it for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for your onboarding process, is it mainly from your sneak peek that they learned like what they have to do to work? Sorry, I'm in the dark. Or is it more like you send an email or whatever once they sign up?
Kind of both. So they definitely learn like the ins and outs of what we do in the sneak peek, and then the learning process or like the implementing comes like post sign up. I do a new coach kickoff call, and that's on my YouTube too if you want to see like my latest one. And we just talk about like it's time to go, like learn by doing, like it's very basic. And they do get a welcome email from me where they get plugged into like the team page and our training academy, which honestly is just the new training videos from corporate, and everyone's like raving about it. So I'm like, whatever, like that's just what we're doing. And because I think it's really good, and they get to hear from other coaches and whatever. So that's what they do. And I just tell them like, you don't need to wait until you've watched all the training videos. Like just, it's time to go. And they just hear me say that like all the time, and they're new. So they listen to me still at the beginning.
So 2 questions. number one, are you emptying out your sneak peeks every time you do them? Are you setting up a new one? And number two, how often are you doing your new coach calls?
So I've done both ways for emptying out groups. So it kind of just depends. I do mine differently than most people in the network. I do open mine to the whole downline because I do have coaches that will recruit to one that I'm running, but they may not ever run one themselves. And what if they recruit somebody like me? Like, I'll take care of them. Like, I don't care if they're in my downline, you know? So, I decided a couple months ago to open everything for my whole downline. So anyways, so when I run it for the whole downline, then it is going to stay in the same group because, again, just you never know when hearing that same piece of information will just strike a chord with somebody. And I honestly don't like it will literally be the same videos besides my 2 lives in there, which will be pretty much the same information. Like the graphics will be the same. Like I don't care if they are like, they think that's annoying or whatever, like that's duplicable. And you never know when seeing something for the 5th time is they're going to be like, okay, it just makes sense. Like I'm in, like, and then they hit diamond in 3 days. You know what I mean? So, so I am keeping it in the same group, but I've also I have a different group if I run it with like another coach or something, then it's in a different group. But for the most part, I'm keeping everything the same. I do that. I decided to do that because I did that with the flash sale groups. We always just do the same group, and people can leave the group. Like if they don't want to do it, like again, no one has a gun to their head. Like they can leave. Like no skin off my back, and that just seems to work. You just never know when you're going to catch people. And I do a new coach call after every sneak peek. I think that's really important. One, it gives a firm cutoff date so that you don't have the laggers, and it keeps the excitement, and then you can talk people off a ledge that they very quickly climb up after sign up. So that's been huge. And then what I do also, so I like to run my sneak peeks Thursday, Friday, because Friday is payday for most people. It's just really easy to do. There's just 2 days, Thursday, Friday, and then they have the new coach kickoff calls on Sunday. And then what I've liked doing is doing an emerald call on Wednesday. Like I just want them to get it done. Like we don't need to drag this process out, you know, especially like the basics in the beginning. It's like, let's go, let's make it simple. And this has been revamped for me for all of 3 weeks, but it's been super effective. So it is working for me right now.
Sweet. I love that.
Good. It's so simple. If you watch my video, you'll be like, oh my God, it's so easy.
And all those videos are on your YouTube channel, you said?
Yeah.
And for your emerald thing, then are you running like an emerald in 24 hours because you're doing that on Wednesday? Is that what your emerald call is? To try and hit by Thursday?
Yeah.
I love it. I have like 9 pages of notes, so I hope everyone else does too. Anybody else have any other questions? Nothing else in the chat? Nothing. Maddie, you got something? You look like you're going to say something. All right. Well, I won't take any more of your time, Rachel, because we super appreciated this. This was a good one. I think, especially at the first of the year, this will really hopefully, and with Team Cup coming up and getting those invites out to everybody, I really think it will be that momentum to keep our Team Cup, teams going. And I'm excited for Team Cup and about all these notes that I can now implement within my Team Cup group because 2 of the girls are on here, so that's exciting. So we super appreciate you. Does anybody else have anything else? No? You want to get a picture? Get another picture really quick with everybody looking, eyes open. Okay, big smiles. Ready? There's Bo. 1, 2, 3. Good job, guys. Okay, Rachel, I super appreciate you. Thank you so much for hopping on. I know the time difference can be a pain, but this is gold. Everything here is gold. I love it.
Go crush it, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.